The formation comprises reddish, almost solid mudstones, which also shows gray and white streaks, probably caused by alternating oxidative and reducing environments. Stromatolites are intermittently found in calcareous layers, while indications of semi-arid to arid conditions such as desiccation cracks and caliche horizons have been reported. The formation suggests a low-energy setting with expansive floodplains, temporary shallow lake development, and calcrete horizon interchanged with swamps, with seasonal flooding from a meandering, shallow river system dominated by overbanked silt. Many sandstone channels are composed of reworked sand grain-sized pebbles of mudstone, supporting the view of a predominantly low-relief environment. This latter feature is suggested by the widespread occurrence freshwater ostracod accumulations and rarer unionid bivalve shells. Ceratodus has been described as a catch-all, and a form genus used to refer to the remains of a variety of lungfish belonging to the extinct family Ceratodontidae. Jobaria was a primitive sauropod, about 18 meters long. It may also have been able to rear up on its hind legs, as Paul Sereno concluded, after comparing the ratios of humerus and femur circumferences in Jobaria to extant elephants. The weight distribution of Jobaria indicates that it was supported by the rear limbs rather than the forelimbs, and is speculated that as elephants can rear up, then Jobaria would have been able to more easily. Rebbachisaurus possessed a small head, a long, graceful neck and a whip-like tail. It is distinguished from other sauropods by its unusually tall, ridged back and the spine or sail that lay atop its back, distinguished by the tall ridges of the preserved dorsal vertebrae of the holotype and other specimens. Many indeterminate theropods' teeth have been found, but there are not enough remains to identify a genus. Most analyses place Afrovenator within the Megalosauridae, which was formerly a wastebasket family which contained many large and hard-to-classify theropods, but has since been redefined in a meaningful way, as a sister taxon to the family Spinosauridae within the Megalosauroidea. In 2002, a cladistic analysis by Sereno found Sinostropheus to be the sister taxon of the Abelosauria. Subsequent studies have recovered it as a basal ceratosaur, more closely in the evolutionary tree to Elrhazosaurus. Rauhut and Carano believe that the holotype and paratype specimens lack ceratosaurian features, and suggest that it might be a basal Tetiouran. A tooth of basal Thyreophoryn, related to Scutellosaurus, also has been found. The Elrhaz Formation strata date back to the early Cretaceous. Dinosaur remains are among the fossils that have been recovered from the formation, alongside those of multiple species of reptiles and fishes. Gadafawa, which means, the place where camels fear to go, in Tuareg, is a site within the Elrhaz Formation in the Tenere Desert of Niger known for its extensive fossil graveyard. It very a hot and dry place. However, it is supposed that millions of years ago, Gadafawa had trees, plants, and wide rivers. The river covered the remains of dead animals, the fossilized remains of which were protected by the drying rivers over millions of years. Hybodus species typically grew to about 2 meters in length. It possessed a streamlined body shape similar to modern sharks, with 2 similarly sized dorsal fins that would have helped it steer with precision. It may live in freshwater and salty water. Pycnodonts are an important group of ray-finned fish of the Cretaceous. The Elrhaz region appears to have been traversed by immense rivers. At that time, Africa was attached to South America, forming a vast continent where some rivers flowed inland, creating marshy areas in what is now Niger. These wetlands were populated by a myriad of fish, notably sarcopterygians, including fish that had the ability to breathe air, an advantage when rains were scarce during certain seasons and dried up the marshy deltas. Mawsonia is famous in the world of paleontology for being a huge fish with specimens over 4 meters long, but some species were of more reasonable size, like the one found in this geological formation. Species of aquatic or semi-aquatic turtles have been found in abundance, along with teeth belonging to crocodiles. The region is inhabited by crocodiles and is home to some of the largest species. Araripesuchus remains have been recovered from the continents of South America and Africa, suggesting a Gondwanan origin for the evolution of the genus. All species had relatively large orbits and hence eyes. They also had thin osteoderms that covered the entire body, multiple rows of them across the back and paired dorsal ones along the tail. As the specific name indicates, Anatosuchus minor was a very small crocodilomorph, with an adult body length estimated at around 70 centimeters. It had a very broad, duck-like snout. Despite its appearance, it is considered to have a diet of small, aquatic creatures. Sarcosuchus was one of the largest crocodile-like reptiles that ever lived. It could reach lengths of up to 12 meters and weigh up to 8 metric tons. It was a carnivore, feeding on large fish, dinosaurs, and other creatures that ventured too close to the water's edge. Its large size and powerful jaws made it a formidable predator. One of its distinctive features is the bulla, a bony protuberance at the end of its snout, which might have been used for display, enhancing its sense of smell, or even amplifying vocalizations. While Sarcosuchus shares many similarities with modern crocodiles, it is not a direct ancestor. Instead, it belongs to a separate lineage of crocodiliforms. Small for a sauropod, Nigersaurus was about 9 meters long, and had a short neck. It weighed around 3 tons, comparable to a modern elephant. Its skull was very specialized for feeding, with large fenestrae and thin bones. It had a wide muzzle filled with more than 500 teeth, which were replaced at a rapid rate, around every 14 days. It was probably a browser, and fed with its head close to the ground. The region of its brain that detected smell was underdeveloped, although its brain size was comparable to that of other dinosaurs. Elrhazosaurus was relatively small compared to some of its iguanodontian relatives. It is estimated to have been around 4 meters in length. As a herbivorous dinosaur, it would have fed on the lush vegetation available during the early Cretaceous period. Elrhazosaurus has a highly atypical body plan for an iguanodont, with a small skull, long neck, rotund torso, and powerful forelimbs and claws, somewhat reminiscent of a ground sloth. Its metacarpals are fused and reinforced into a large block, and the thumb spike is remarkably enormous. Ouranosaurus was a relatively large herbivorous dinosaur, reaching lengths of about 7 to 8 meters and weighing approximately 4 tons. One of its most distinctive features is its long, sail-like structure on its back. This sail was formed by elongated neural spines on the vertebrae. The function of this sail is still debated, with hypotheses including thermoregulation, display, or fat storage. It had relatively short forelimbs compared to its hind limbs, indicating it was primarily bipedal but could likely walk on all fours when necessary. Its hands had hoof-like claws. Afromemus contains a single species, Afromemus tenerensis, named in 2017 by Paul Sereno from parts of the right leg, vertebrae, and ribs found in the Tenere Desert. It was originally classified as an ornithomimosaurian, but subsequently it was argued to be an abelisauroid. Eocarcharia was discovered in 2000 on an expedition led by Paul Sereno. Its teeth were shaped like blades and were used for disabling live prey and ripping apart body parts. Its brow is swollen into a massive band of bone, giving it a menacing glare, leading to the specific name Dinops or Fearside. It may have reached lengths of 6 to 8 meters. Cryptops was a medium-sized theropod. It is estimated to have been around 6 to 7 meters in length. It had heavily textured and possibly armored maxilla. This feature sets it apart from many other theropods. It lived in a region that was likely a mix of riverine and floodplain environments, providing ample opportunities for hunting and scavenging. Suchomimus was a relatively large theropod. However, the age of the holotype specimen is uncertain, so it is unclear whether this size estimate would have been its maximum. The narrow head of Suchomimus was perched on a short neck, and its forelimbs were powerfully built, bearing a giant claw on each thumb. Along the midline of the animal's back ran a low dorsal sail, built from the long neural spines of its vertebrae. Like other spinosaurids, it likely had a diet of fish, eels, rays, and smaller prey animals. The Echkar Formation belongs to the Lower to Middle Cretaceous period. This formation primarily consists of sedimentary rocks, including sandstones, clays, and sometimes conglomerates. The sediments deposited during this time reflect a range of environments, from fluvial to shallow marine settings. The sediments suggest deposition in environments ranging from fluvial, rivers and deltas to shallow marine settings. These variations indicate changes in sea level and climate during the Cretaceous. The climate was generally warmer and more humid than today, influencing the formation and nature of the sediments deposited. Many aquatic species, particularly fish, have been found in the sediments of this formation. Lepidotes is a very common genus of fish that has been found worldwide, but the species found in Niger does not yet appear to have a specific name. Specimens of Onchopristis suggest a length estimate of 4 meters. Like other sclerorhynchoids, it had a long rostrum with large denticles similar to sawfishes. This feature was convergently evolved and its closest living relatives are actually skates. An isolated fish vertebra, tentatively referred to Onchopristis, has been associated with the tooth alveolus of a possible specimen of Spinosaurus. Elrhazosaurus had an elongated snout like a gharial and was probably a fully aquatic animal. 2 species were found in Niger, but one was eventually reclassified into the genus Fortignathus, and the other species of Elrhazosaurus does not yet have a specific name. At more than 6 meters long, Laganosuchus boasted a flat, 1 meter long head bristling with spiked teeth on slender jaws. The scientists think it would probably lie still for hours, waiting for unsuspecting fish to swim through its wide-open maw. It was the ultimate sit-and-wait predator, Sereno said. The animal would lie motionless and wait for something stupid to swim into its rail-thin, 90 centimeters jaws, which were lined with rows of spiky teeth. Caprisuchus was once thought to have been a primarily if not exclusively terrestrial predator. Evidence for this behavior includes the positioning of the orbits laterally and somewhat anteriorly, which suggests an overlap in vision. This is unlike many other Neosuchians, including extant crocodilians, in which the orbits are positioned dorsally as an adaptation to aquatic predation where the head can be held underwater while the eyes remain above the surface. However, it is now thought to have been semi-aquatic. It shows cranial adaptations usually found in definitively semi-aquatic crocodilomorphs, such as elongate platirostral or tube-like snouts, orbits located dorsally on the skull, and dorsally facing external nares. The first discoveries of Egyptosaurus were made in the Bahariya Formation in Egypt, explaining its name, but other fossils have been found in different areas of the Sahara later on, notably in the Echkar Formation in Niger. The bones were preserved in museums in Munich, Germany, but were unfortunately destroyed during World War II. Only a few rare fragments have been preserved to this day. Elrhazosaurus was a medium-sized but lightly built member of the group that could grow up to 6 meters long. Morphologically, this dinosaur is significant in two ways. Firstly, it has a relatively long body but is very shallow-chested for a theropod of its size. Secondly, it has very short hind limbs in comparison with its body. Phylogenetic analyses indicate that this genus is likely a ceratosaur. The questionable remains of Bajocian-Tithonian from the Niger, which consist of a proximal caudal centrum, 2 mid-caudal centra and 3 mid-caudal centra, from different individuals, were discovered sometime later during the 20th century. It is possible that these remains may have belonged to another unrelated theropod. Rugops thrived in a world vastly different from ours. The late Cretaceous landscape it inhabited was marked by diverse climates and geography. As a carnivore, Rugops was likely an active predator or scavenger that navigated a world filled with various prey and competitors. Its bipedal locomotion suggests a lifestyle adapted for hunting or scavenging, while its social behavior remains a topic of speculation. Rugops' role in shaping its ecosystem, directly or indirectly, adds another layer to the complex tapestry of Cretaceous life for African dinosaurs. Carcharodontosaurus was one of the largest carnivorous dinosaurs, with an estimated length of about 12 to 13 meters and weighing around 6 to 15 metric tons. The teeth were long, serrated, and blade-like, resembling those of a great white shark. As a top predator, it primarily hunted large herbivorous dinosaurs. Its powerful jaws and sharp teeth were well adapted for slicing through flesh. It likely inhabited a variety of environments, from coastal plains to inland floodplains. Its role as an apex predator indicates it played a crucial role in maintaining the balance of its ecosystem. Recent research on Spinosaurus has reignited debates about its lifestyle, particularly whether it was an underwater hunter. A 2024 study led by Paul Sereno and his team challenges the idea that Spinosaurus was a deep diver, suggesting instead that it was a semi-aquatic predator that mainly stayed near the water's edge. Earlier studies had proposed that Spinosaurus used its large, fleshy tail to swim and hunt underwater like an eel. This view was supported by findings that Spinosaurus had dense bones, which could have acted as ballast to help it stay submerged. However, Sereno's recent research argues against this, pointing out that Spinosaurus's bone density and biomechanics were more suited to supporting its large body on land than to efficient swimming. The research also included biomechanical analysis, which indicated that Spinosaurus's tail and hind limbs were not efficient for propelling it through water. It would have required significantly more power to swim than it could generate, making it an awkward swimmer compared to animals like alligators. Overall, the recent findings suggest that while Spinosaurus may have spent time in water, it was not a fully aquatic predator. Instead, it likely hunted in shallow waters and along riverbanks, preying on fish and other aquatic animals, but it primarily lived on land. During the late part of the Cretaceous, many continents fragmented, including Africa, and a large part of Niger was covered by a branch of the Tethys Ocean, which connected to the Atlantic Ocean. The Dukamaje Formation is a witness to these marine ecosystems where many marine species have been found, particularly mosasaurs. It was a shallow sea and certainly very warm due to its position on the equator. With the drifting of the continents and the slow rise of Africa, this piece of sea would later disappear during the Cenozoic to become the present-day Sahara. Many aquatic species have been found, such as ray teeth or nurse shark teeth, including the genus Gynglomystoma, which still has representative species today. Members of this genus eat small fish and crustaceans, and are commonly quite lethargic unless provoked. Members of this genus have the ability to suck in water in order to remove snails from their shells in a manner that can be described as vacuum-like. Astracanthus was among the largest known hybodontiforms, reaching a length of 2 to 3 meters. The dentition is high-crowned and multicusped. The fin spines are covered in tubercles, rather than the ribbing typical of other hybodont fin spines. Lamna is also a genus of shark, some species of which still exist today. They appeared at the end of the Cretaceous, and the species Lamna nigeriana is currently endemic to the Dukamaje Formation. Schizoryza is characterized by its robust rostrum with over 1,800 denticles arranged in dense batteries, which form a continuous cutting edge along each side. Each denticle was replaced by a series of smaller denticles nested inside its roots, and new rows of denticles grew from the end of the rostrum. Ischoriza had a large, toothed rostrum closely resembling that of a modern-day sawfish. Like Onchopristis and Schizoryza, this genus of sawfish-like animal was actually more related to skates than to sawfish. Pycnodonts are an extinct order of primarily marine bony fish. They were small to middle-sized fish, generally with laterally compressed deep bodies, some with almost circular outlines, adapted for maneuverability in reef-like environments, though the group was morphologically diverse. Most, but not all members of the groups had jaws with round and flattened teeth, well adapted to crush food items, durophagy, such as echinoderms, crustaceans, and mollusks. Ceratodus in many respects is similar in appearance to other lizardfish but much larger. The body is long and slender, anguilliform in shape, and is covered in thick, spiny scuts. An elongated dorsal fin runs down the back. Perhaps the most striking feature were its conical, inward-pointing teeth. It possessed multiple rows of these. These teeth were extremely numerous, with at least 6,000 being present in the fish's mouth, to the point that over 1,000 of the teeth are oriented outside of the jaws on the lips of the fish. Podicnemus is a genus of freshwater turtle that still exists today. Its presence in these geological strata may indicate the presence of a large river delta emptying into the sea, which was full of mosasaurs. Some fossilized teeth of crocodiles have been also found like Sarcosuchus and Traumaticamsa. Paleophis were specialized aquatic animals, as their fossils occur primarily in marine strata, though at least some estuarine remains have also been found. Different species are thought to have occupied different ecological niches. Studies on Paleophis vertebrae show a high degree of vascularization, suggesting that it had a considerably faster metabolism and growth rate than modern snakes. This may suggest that paleophids, like other marine reptiles such as mosasaurs, might have developed towards endothermy. The flippers of Halosaurus are poorly differentiated, which means that the genus lacked the hydrophalange of more advanced mosasaurs. That Halosaurus was a relatively poor swimmer is relatively surprising considering its small size, since other small and medium-sized mosasaurs were mostly adept swimmers. Goroniosaurus has a unique tooth morphology among mosasaurs. Unlike a majority of mosasaurs, which have cutting teeth, it has straight teeth with a rounded apex designed more for smashing food. This means that it may have competed with mosasaurs with cutting teeth, as well as large predatory crocodilians and plesiosaurs. In 1999, Holmes and colleagues described an incomplete specimen of Pliodetes from an early Maastrichtian non-marine deposit, suggesting that this genus might have entered freshwater and estuarine habitats. While the describers of Pananeosaurus considered this as a stochastic occurrence with no ecological implications, Taylor and colleagues in 2021 considered that this specimen and Pananeosaurus directly support mosasaur inhabitation of coastal and river environments. While mosasaurs are traditionally thought to have propelled themselves through the water by lateral undulation in a similar way to eels, the deep caudal fin of Platycarpus suggests that it swam more like a shark. The downturned caudal vertebrae of Platycarpus suggest it had a crescent-shaped tail fluke. At the point of the tail where the fluke begins, the vertebral centra are shortened and disc-like. Due to declining sea temperatures in the area that Ankylosaurus inhabited, it has been hypothesized that it and the other mosasaurs inhabiting its region may have had an increased coverage of dark patterning on its dorsal surface to aid in thermoregulation. Igdomanosaurus was a small durophagous mosasaur at a size roughly similar to the closely related Globidensin carinodons. Its fossils preserve blunt, rounded teeth similar to those of the other members of the Globidensini. These teeth were better suited for crushing armored prey like mollusks and turtles, rather than fish or other reptiles normally preyed on by other mosasaurs. The dentary is noted as being of massive proportions, similar to the massive and robust dentaries found in Globidens and Prognathodon. A medially located shallow recess on the dentary indicates the groove for the splenial. The largest species, Mosasaurus hoffmanii, was traditionally estimated to be 17 meters long, but recent estimates suggest it was closer to 13 meters. Mosasaurus had robust jaws and strong muscles for powerful bites, with large teeth adapted for cutting prey. Its limbs were shaped into paddles for underwater steering, and its tail ended in a paddle-like fluke. Mosasaurus had excellent vision, a high metabolic rate suggesting it was endothermic, and exhibited significant morphological variability across species. It was a common large predator in these oceans and was positioned at the top of the food chain. Paleontologists believe its diet would have included virtually any animal. It likely preferred to hunt in open water near the surface. From an ecological standpoint, Mosasaurus probably had a profound impact on the structuring of marine ecosystems. Its arrival in some locations such as the Western Interior Seaway in North America coincides with a complete turnover of faunal assemblages and diversity.